we are going to review trigonometry today, and you will be an expert by the end of the block. Okay, so let's think about our three main trigonometric functions. What are they? What are your three ratios that you had to memorize? Sine, cosine, and tangent. So, and write kind of small because I have a lot of stuff to put in this box. So we have y equals sine, y equals cosine theta. These are our equations, right? Those are our people. What is the ratio for sine? Your SOHCAHTOA. What is sine? Yes. What is cosine? Adjacent over hypotenuse. What is tangent? Yes. See, you got this. The other thing I want you to think about, y'all have been graphing points. I don't know how long, since 6th grade, 5th grade. When you graph a point, it's x, y, right? Like 3, 4. Well, in trigonometry, when you graph a point, it's cosine, sine. Because cosine is really what? X, and sine is y. And what does tangent mean? I want a 5-letter word for tangent. It is y over x, right? But there's a 5-letter word to describe tangent. What is it? What is y over x? 5 letters. Slope? Remember, if you don't know the answer, find the slope and put that down. It's the answer many times, right? Slope is extremely important to us in calculus, and it's really cool if you can tie tangent to meaning slope. You could also say it's sine over cosine. You remember from, well, I'll use theta instead of x. You remember from pre-cal when we did all of our identities, you know, sine over cosine is tangent. We had to switch all those out. The other thing we need to know is, are they positive or are they negative? And you could go down here and remember all students take calculus, which says all of them are positive, sines positive, tangents positive, cosines positive. I don't like that acronym because it's just something else for you to memorize. I'd rather you understand why, then you'll never forget. So let's look at, I'm going to put in my little coordinate planes. You said sine is y. So where would sine be positive? Above. See how easy that is? If you connect it to what it really is, you know what it is. Cosine is x. So where would cosine be positive? On the right. Tangent means slope. So where would tangent be positive? Going this direction, right? And it'd be negative pointing down. So if you'll think about what it is, like a slope or an x or a y, you'll know what its SIGN is, positive or negative. Really, that's all you have to do is pick out its number and then decide if it's positive or negative. That's all there is to this. Now I'm going to go through and do all of the main functions with you. Then we're going to come back and fill in the reciprocals. If you can master these, then these are very easy. So I'm not going to put them up there yet. Okay. All right. Last time I made you write these down. I said, really work on remembering those. So you know those. You have to know those. This is memory work. You just have to. But it's not that bad. You can do that. Right? If you notice, what do you notice about sine and cosine? They're switched. That's because sine and cosine are really the same. They look exactly the same. They're a wave. They're just shifted over. It's because you're looking at the triangle from the other side. So these two are switched. So if you know 30, don't you know 60? I mean, really, if you can fill in 30, you can fill in 60, right? Right. I remembered tangent was square root of 3 over 3, and I kept it straight from the 60s because I thought, oh, 30 degrees, that has a 3, it likes 3s. So I take the 3 from my 30 and stick it in the bottom, and that's how I kept them straight and didn't get these switched for a test. Right? Now, a 45-degree triangle has 2 legs the same size, right? Therefore, these are the same. Oh, look, 2 legs the same size, and these are the same, and it's all 2s. And then, of course, since tangent is sine divided by cosine, if these are the same, it turns into a 1. So you can do this. It's not that hard. We're not going to skip it. We're going to master this. All right. Again, I'm going to come back and do this in a little bit. Now, a little algebra thing I want you to know. What is, I do not know why that's there. What is the reciprocal of 0? Let me think about that. Is 0 over 5 0? Yes. What do you get when you take the reciprocal? And what is that? Undefined. The reciprocal is undefined. People want to write 0 down and then everything you do will be wrong. If the reciprocal of 0 is undefined, what is the reciprocal of undefined? 0. We want to know those because when we flip stuff over, we need to know what it is. And this one gets missed. People want to tell me that the reciprocal of 0 is 0, or that sometimes 1, I don't know. Okay, so first page isn't bad. Now we got to practice our families, right? There's the easy way and there's the hard way to do this. The hard way is to try to memorize every word, where it is and all that. The easy way is just to understand what's happening. Then you'll never forget. Besides that, 20 years from now, you're going to have to help your kids with their homework. So you're going to have to remember this, right? Think about that. Okay. So we have families. What are the families that we have? We have 30, 60, 45, and 90, right? So let's look at 30. We'll look at 45. We'll look at 60. And we'll look at 90. If we look at how the families behave, then we don't have to memorize. We just have to understand. Then we can think our way out of it. So 30 is pi over 6. 45 is pi over 4. 60 is pi over 3. 90 is pi over 2. Right? You remember that. The reason 30 is pi over 6, because if you divide 180 by 30, you get 6. I'm going to do the pi over 2 family first because it's the smallest one. Now, if this is a circle and I start, this would be 0 degrees, yes? And this would be pi, right? You remember that. So if this is 0 and this is 1 pi, up here is pi over 2. And that'd be 1 pi over 2, 2 over 2. This is 3 over 2. And this would be 4 over 2 or 2 pi, correct? So we start at 0, we go all the way around to 2 pi. Not a big deal, I can do that. What about the 30s? Okay. Now, you all said that this is pi right here. And I agree with you, that's pi. 1 pi. So if this bottom needs to be 3, could I call this 3 pi over 3? Is that 1 pi? Is 3 over 3 1? Yes. And I'll show you why I want to count this way in a second. And would you all agree that if this is the pi over 4 circle that we're going to talk about, that this would be 4 pi over 4? Because it's 1 pi? And would you agree that if I'm going to do a circle about the 6 family, this would be 6 pi over 6? That's not hard, right? It's easy. If you can know that, you don't have to memorize anything. You just have to add or subtract 1. And you got all your answers. So, of course, in the first quadrant, it's just pi over 6, right? There's nothing to work on. But what would this be called right there? Yeah, if this is 6, that's got to be 5. See how easy? You no longer have to memorize because you could just subtract 1. And what would the one down here be called? 7. See how easy it is to count if you just know that's 6 over 6? Now the other side though, this is 0, but when I go all the way around, it's 2 pi. How would I write 2 pi if I want the bottom to be 6? If that's 12, then what would the guy right here be called? 11. That's not that bad, is it? No, all you have to know is the 12 over 6 and the 6 over 6, and then it's very easy for you to visualize the other ones and count them. Now, if this is the 4 over 4 family, what would 2 pi be called? 8 over 4. So if this is 4 over 4, what's this fella? 3 over 4. And then what would this guy be called? 5. It's 1 bigger. And then, of course, we'll have one in the 4th quadrant. What's he called? What's 1 less than 8? 7. See how easy that is? That's not bad. You can add and subtract by 1. I know you can. Now we got the 3 family. So what's this guy's name? 2 pi over 3. And what's this guy's name? 4 pi over 3. And now if this is 3 over 3, what would 2 pi be called? 6 over 3. So what's the name of the guy here in this quadrant? Now that was not so hard. So take a second and think, and I want you to tell me the pattern of how you can easily remember the number. So you notice in quadrant 2, the fractions are smaller, the numbers are smaller than 1. 5 out of 6, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3. So you'll quickly recognize if it's less than 1, it's in the second quadrant. You don't have to worry about it. Now, what do you notice about the third quadrant numbers? How much bigger? 1. So if you get a number to look up and the top is 1 bigger than the bottom, you know it's in quadrant 3. And then you notice if it's almost 2, it's in quadrant 4. So you don't even really have to think about it if you notice that pattern. And it makes sense because this is 1 pi. So that's got to be bigger than 1 pi. And that's got to be smaller than 1 pi. So think about your fractions. It'll make you work on them very quickly. Okay. Is that okay? All right, we're going to practice. What should you do before you start this? I think you better write your table down again. Let's see how fast we can do it. We know we need sine. We know we need cosine. We know we need tangent. We know we have pi over 6. We know we have pi over 4. We know we have pi over 3. So we'll write them down. What's sine of pi over 6? 1/2, so that's 1/2. Cosine is the square root of 3 over 2, so this is the square root of 3 over 2. These are the same, so they're 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, 1, square root of 3 over 3, square root of 3. You have to know these. What's the best way to study these? Keep writing them down. watch something funny on TV, and when it's time for a commercial, pause it, write that down twice, and then keep going, right? Then you can watch something funny and study at the same time. The more often you can take a second to write this down, the faster you'll get at it. It'll be second nature. If you take a test on your scrap paper, you should immediately write that down. That's what you need to know. So let's see now if we can answer all of these questions. You got it. Okay. All you have to do, right, is look at the bottom and decide which of these numbers it is. Once you decide what number, what value it has, then you figure out where it is and decide if it's positive or negative. That's all you got to do, right? You can do this. So let's try. Okay. Sine of 3 pi over 4. What's the value of that? Look at your chart. If it's over 4, what is sine? It's root 2 over 2, right? Now you have to decide if it's positive or negative. So 3 out of 4 is where? Right here. And what is sine in quadrant 2? Wait, sine is y. And is y positive or negative in the top? Positive. So it has a positive sign, so it's positive. You don't actually have to write the positive here. I'm just emphasizing it because we're practicing. Cosine of 4 pi over 3. What is cosine of a 3 bottom? It's 1/2. So I know the value. Now I have to decide what sign it has. So where is 4 pi over 3? Is cosine positive or negative on the left? Negative. So it's negative. Remember, with cosine, you're thinking left and right. With sine, you're thinking top or bottom. Tangent, you're thinking slope. So tangent of negative pi over 4. Well, what's the value of tangent of a 4 bottom? 1. Now I have to decide positive or negative. So where is negative pi over 4? It's right there because we're going the opposite direction. So it's here. What is tangent in the 4th quadrant? Negative. So it's negative. Remember, tangent means slope. So this is positive. This side is negative, right? Slope. All right. Sine of 2 pi over 3. What's the value of a sine with a 3 bottom? It's the square root of 3 over 2. Now I have to choose. Where is 2 out of 3? So it has which sign? So there we go. And another way you can remember, right? 4 over 3, the top is bigger. Now what would happen if I asked you to help me move and stack some boxes, and you put your Apple phone box on the bottom, and you put a whole bunch of great big boxes, you kept stacking bigger boxes on the top, what would happen? It would fall over, right? So if it's too heavy on the top, it falls over and goes to the bottom. That's another silly way you can remember if you forget. Now I'm going to skip these two for just a minute because I want to do all of our regular guys first. Then we'll come back and do the reciprocals. All right. Let's talk about the quadrant angles. Now, a unit circle is centered at the origin, correct? So this point right here is 0, 0. A unit circle has a radius of 1. Radius of 1. So what are the coordinate points right here? 1, 0. So what is the coordinate point up here?
0.
What about over here? There you go. What about down here?
0,
Now that's not hard, right? That part is an algebra, well, pre-algebra question, right? We're going to put it to calculus though. What your algebra 1 students don't know is which trig ratio is x? And which trig ratio is y? So what is sine of 0 degrees? 0. What is cosine of 0 degrees? 1. What is cosine of 90? 0. What is cosine of 180? -1. What is cosine of 270? 0. You just pick them right off. What's sine of 270? -1. What's sine of 90? 1. Okay, so what's cosine of 90? 0. Well, this isn't that bad. Now, what did you tell me tangent meant? Oh. Oh, that was off, by the way. Okay. What does tangent mean again? Yeah, I want a 5-letter word for tangent. Slope. What is the slope of this line? 0. What is the slope of this line? Undefined. If you're a word person and you like your words to look like what they are, we could do this. If this helps you. If you like words, that looks like a T for tangent, doesn't it? If tangent goes this way, it's undefined. If tangent goes this way, it's 0. So if you're an English person and you like your words to look like what they are, you could write that down. Right? You can remember tangent is slope. So if tangent falls along this line, it's 0. Tangent falls along this line, it's undefined. So what's tangent of 180? 0. What's sine of 7 pi over 2? That's not on our chart. It's easy though. There's 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, 6 pi over 2, 7 pi over 2. So sine of 7 pi over 2 is going this way. So what is it? -1. Not bad. Remember, we're going to come back and do the other ones in a minute. Are we good so far? This isn't bad. So what is sine of 4 pi over 3? Well, let's see. A 3 bottom sine has what value? Now you got to figure out, is it in the top or bottom? Remember, for sine, you're asking top or bottom. For cosine, you're asking left or right. It's in the bottom. Therefore, it has what sign? See, this is not hard. Now, what about an equation? We got to do one of those. So how would you get sine of theta by itself? Divide by 2. And you're going to recognize these. They have to turn into one of the numbers you know. Otherwise, I'd have to give you a calculator, and I'm not going to do it. So we have sine of theta equals -1/2. So if it's sine and it's negative, is that in the top or the bottom? Bottom. Right? So you're going to get 2 answers because there's 2 places that you could have a sine of -1/2. Now, what family did this come from? Look at your chart. 1/2 comes from what family? Yeah, that's a pi over 6 family, correct? So now you just have to tell me the names of pi over 6 in the bottom. What is it? 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. How'd you do it so fast? You know this is 6 over 6 and you know this is 12 over 6. So that'd be 7 because it's 1 after 6. This would be 11 because it's 1 before 12. This is not that bad. You just have to add and subtract by 1, right? Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause this and give you a minute. I want you to try these. Now, don't do the cosecants and the cotangents. Just do sine, cosine, and tangent right now. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to attempt. Okay. Now, sine is 1/2. Where is sine? It's positive, so where is it going to live? In the top. What is the family where sine is 1/2? Pi over, look at your chart, pi over 6. What's the name of pi over 6 here? It's pi over 6. And what's the name of pi over 6 in quadrant 2? 5 pi over 6. We know quadrant 2, it's simple. The top is 1 less than the bottom. You don't have to think about that. Okay, cosine is the square root of 2 over 2. It's positive. Cosine's positive on the right. Yes, sir.
So wait, for the first one, why is it not just?
Okay, so now cosine is positive on the right. 2 over square root of 2 over 2 is the pi over 4 family, yes. So up here, that's called pi over 4. And what's the name of the pi over 4 in the bottom? 7 pi over 4. Remember, this one down here is always going to be 1 less than double because we didn't quite make it to double. Okay, where does tangent equal a positive? Here and here. Now, what family does tangent equal 1 for? Pi over 4. So the top is pi over 4. And what's the name of the 4 family down here in third quadrant? 5 over 4. See, this is nice. Just count by ones. And what about this guy? What family is tangent a pi over 3 in? A square root of 3. It's a pi over 3 family, and it's positive, so that would be here and here. So what are the names of these fellas? Pi over 3, and what's this guy's name? 4 over 3. Top is 1 bigger. Not bad? This isn't bad. It was easy. Okay. Now we'll go back. Here we knew the answer and we were looking for the angle. On these, they gave us the angle and we're looking for the answer. So sine, oh, I threw some degrees in for you. 300 degrees, where is that? It's right down here, right? How far away from 360 is 300? So this is a 60-degree family. What is sine of 60? What is sine of 60? Square root of 3 over 2. Now for sine, I have to ask myself top or bottom. It's in the bottom, so it is negative. All right, I'm going to give you a minute and you guys try those. Let's look at these. So cosine of 3 pi over 4. Well, what's the answer for a 4? What's the value? It's the square root of 2 over 2. Now I just have to decide, is it positive or negative? 3 out of 4 is right there. And on the left, cosine has what sign? Negative. That's not bad, is it? All right, tangent of pi over 2. Where is pi over 2? It's up here. So what is tangent on that line? It's undefined. Can you have an answer of undefined and write that down? Sure. Take cosine of 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2 is right there, and we know cosine is 0. What about sine of negative 5 pi over 6? Where is that? Well, this would be negative 6 over 6, so it's right here. It's in the bottom. What's the sign of sine in the bottom? Well, it's 1/2 because it's a 6, but if it's in the bottom, is it positive or negative? Negative. You always have to ask sign, top or bottom. Cosine, you think left or right. Okay, tangent is slope. Where is 5 over 4? Right there. Is tangent positive or negative right there? Positive. And what's tangent of a 4? 1. Okay, sine of pi over 2, that's up here. 1. Cosine of 5 pi over 2, where is that? That would just be 1 over 2, 2 over 2, 3 over 2, 4 over 2, 5 over 2. So we'd be up there. What's cosine up there? Now sine of negative 3 pi. 0. Because think about this. This is pi, then that'd be 2 pi. Then that'd be 3 pi. Then that'd be 4 pi. That'd be 5 pi. That'd be 6 pi. So isn't any odd pi over here and any even pi over there? Yes, so you notice that pattern. So are we good with sine, cosine, and tangent? Yes. Guess what the good news is? Do you have to memorize the other ones? No. You're just going to do these and turn them upside down. That's all they are. So let's go back and see how easy it would be to do the cofunctions, the reciprocal functions, right? So the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. It is 1 over sine. The reciprocal of cosine is secant. It's 1 over cosine. The reciprocal of tangent is cotangent, which is 1 over tangent. I wouldn't memorize these. I would just turn them upside down. I'd memorize my 3, and then I would think about these and turn them upside down because they're reciprocals. So all you have to do is look over here and turn them upside down. So what's 1/2 upside down? 2. What's 1 upside down? Okay. What's the square root of 2 over 2 upside down? It's just the square root of 2. Whenever you have the matching numbers and you turn them upside down, the bottom comes off. You could do the algebra if you wanted, but we did that last year. The bottom comes up. What's the square root of 3 over 3 upside down? So what's the square root of 3 upside down? The 3 back. The only one that's a little different is the square root of 3 over 2. And what do you get when you flip that over? 2 root 3 over 3, right? I could show you if you want. If you took the square root of 3 over 2 and you flipped it, we have to rationalize our denominator. So we get 2 square roots of 3 over 3. Now, I don't want to do that every time I'm going to flip. I'd rather just kind of know. Basically, they switch places and add a radical, right? Okay. If you've got all this, if you know what to do, we're going to do it right now. Here we go. We're almost done. Then we'll make a note sheet to summarize everything we learned. So secant of 5 pi over 4, I don't know. My teacher said I don't have to memorize secant. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do cosine, and when I get my answer, I'll just turn it upside down. So what would cosine of 5 pi over 4 be? Well, that's right here. So cosine would be what? Would it be positive or negative? It would be negative. And what's cosine of a 4 family? Square root of 2 over 2. So we're going to flip it to turn it into secant. So what is the square root of 2 over 2 flipped? Root 2. So my answer is, see how easy that is? Do the ones you know and turn them upside down. So cotangent, I'm going to do tangent, see what that is, and then I'll flip it over. So negative 5 pi over 6, that'd be here. So that's third quadrant. Would tangent be positive or negative? Positive. So now what is tangent of a 6? And we're going to flip. And what do we get when we flip that? So it's positive square root of 3. That's just not bad, is it? You can work this out. Okay. We'll do these. Cotangent of negative 90. I don't know. So I'm going to do tangent and flip it. So if I go to negative 90, what's tangent along this line? Undefined. And what's undefined flip? 0. Cosecant of 5 pi, that's over here. I don't know cosecant, but I'll do sine. What's sine over here? 0. And what do you get when you flip 0? Undefined. Okay, secant of 3 pi over 2. I don't know secant, so I'm going to do cosine. I go to the bottom. What is cosine down here? 0. And what is 0 flipped? All right, this is not so bad. We're on a roll, so I'm gonna go do the ones that we hadn't done yet. Right? I don't know cosecant. Who's his flip? Sine. So do sine and then turn it upside down. 7 pi over 3, where is that? Ooh, that's a tricky one.
That's the top right.
Yes, because this would be 6 over 6. So I actually went all the way around and got up here. So that's the first quadrant. It's a 3. What is sine of a 3? Root 3 over 2. So I'm going to flip that. And what do you get when you flip root 3 over 2? Y'all are like professionals. Cotangent of negative 135. I'm going to think tangent. 135 is a 45. What's tangent of 45? 1. What's 1 flipped over? 1. Now I got to figure out where it is. 135 would be here, and it's positive. Secant. I don't know secant. What should I do? Cosine. What's cosine of negative pi over 2? 0. What's 0 flipped over? Undefined. All right, we'll go do these equations. We've got these 3, and you will be certified a genius. Okay, let's do this one. Secant. I don't know secant, so I'm going to flip it over. What do I get when I flip secant? Cosine. If I flip the right side or the left side, I have to flip the right side. What's 2 flipped over? Okay. Now we've got it turned back into what we know. What angle would give you a 1/2? It's positive, so it's cosine. It's got to be the ones on the right. And what family is that? It's 60, so pi over 3. So pi over 3. And what's the name of pi over 3 in the bottom? 1 less than double. All right. Cotangent is 1. Well, I don't know cotangent, so I'll say tangent. If I flip this, I got to flip this, but what do you get when you flip 1? 1. It's positive, so that means it's here and here. What family? What's the answer? Pi over what? Pi over 4. And what's the name of pi over 4 in that bottom? 5 pi over 4, right? All right, last one. We're going to have to divide. So that's gone. Now I don't know cosecant, so what will I do? Sine. When you flip cosecant, you get sine, but if you flip the left, you have to flip the right. And now it looks good. Remember, I have to give you values you know, because I'm not giving you a calculator. What family does that come from?
Pi over 3.
Pi over 3, and it's sine, so it's positive. It's up there. So that's pi over 3. And what's the name of the other pi over 3? Right up here. 2 pi over 3. Excellent work. Excellent. Okay, so before you start your homework, right, we're going to make a sheet. So I gave you all a colored piece of paper. That way it will stand out. It will stand out in your notebook and you can easily pull out the yellow paper. Let's write down what you really need to know. We did a ton of problems and now you might be overwhelmed. Let's break it down. Right? So what do we actually need to know? Well, we need to know sine, cosine, tangent. And I need to know pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3. I have to know those. It's required by law. right? Now, if I want to, I can make another grid with the other guys, or I could just remember, if you want them written down, you can write them down. You can do cosecant, secant, cotangent, right? Or you can just look over here and flip them. But as a security, when you start to do your homework, maybe we should write them down today. And you still have pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3. Okay, how fast can you fill in your blocks? Let's do it. Fill it in. When you can fill them in fast and just write them down like I did, then you know them well enough. Just get scrap paper and keep writing this chart over and over again until you're an expert. Then you can transfer these numbers over here just by turning them upside down. Okay. When you can take these two charts and just write them all down without thinking, you're where you need to be. Just practice till then. We also should write down who's positive where. So we have sine, we have cosine, we have tangent. And the co-functions would have the same signs. Remember, when we flip, we don't change the sign. So they're going to match up. What are you thinking of for sine? Yes, you think top or bottom. What do you think of for cosine? Right or left? Because it's x. Tangent, we think slope. So sine is positive in the top, negative in the bottom. Cosine is positive on the right, negative on the left. Tangent is positive going up, and it's negative coming down. True? The other thing I would write down so I could do my homework well would be my little ones and zeros, right? This is 0, 0. So this is 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. It's nice to write that circle down. A lot of times your mind will play tricks on you when you do it in your head. And if you have it written down, you won't switch your ones and zeros. And we don't want to do that. And we know that that is x, so it's cosine. That is y, so it's sine. So it's easy to pick them off. And of course, tangent means slope. The one other thing that I might write down if I were a kid is I would just draw a circle. And I would remember, we always look at angles from the x-axis. So I know that this is going to be 3 pi over 3, or 4 pi over 4, or 6 pi over 6. And then I could go over here and say I'm 6 pi over 3, 8 pi over 4, 12 pi over 6. That way, if I have this image in my mind, right, I know third is going to be 2 over 3, 3 over 4, or 5 over 6. And I know down here is 4 thirds, 5 fourths, or 7 sixths. This gives me a nice visual aid to count. And that's everything you need to do to do your homework.